Good morning, AP Stats. I do want to go over some different homework questions that I'm not assigning for homework for Chapter 13, but I thought it would give you guys a good start on your information, so that way you can get ready to do those Chapter 13 exercises. Again, they're not due until Friday, but you can find the assignment on Canvas, but here are the questions that I just want to go over. So, one question I didn't assign was number 2, so we're going to talk about number 2 first. All right, so it says, researchers who examined health records of thousands of males found that men who died of myocardial infarction, I don't know how to pronounce that, heart attack, tended to be shorter than men who did not. And it's wanting to know, is it an experiment, and if not, what kind of study is it? So the first thing that you have to ask yourself, in something for it to be an experiment, there has to be some sort of treatment involved. You're probably going to divide them into, you're going to see something about being divided into groups, and then like this group gets this group gets this. Some groups might be a control group that get no treatment at all. In this case, it just says that they're looking at health records. They're not actually looking at, they're not breaking them up into groups and doing research. So this is definitely not an experiment. This is definitely an observational study, and so if you want to ask yourself, is it a prospective study or is it a retrospective study? And so prospective means you have decided what you're going to look for, and then you kind of watch it as it happens. You're looking at you're going to be watching things that are going to be happening in the future. That's prospective. Retrospective means that it's already happened and you just go back and look at records. And so in this case, we are looking at health records. So on this one, Part A, you would say that it's not an experiment. It is a retrospective observational study. And then it says, is it correct to conclude that shorter men are at a higher risk for a heart attack? And explain. And so the results say that the people that died of a heart attack did tend to be shorter than men who did not. But I would say on this one, we can't conclude that shorter men are at a higher risk of a heart attack. It could just be a coincidence. There's probably some other lurking variables. Lurking variables are just other variables that you don't, that might also be a cause that doesn't necessarily, it might lead to an association but not a causation. And so there's definitely not anything that can, you're not saying that height causes people to have a heart attack. But there's probably an association, but we can't say that it causes it or make a conclusion based on, there's no statistical evidence to say that. So on this one, it is a retrospective because we're looking at health records. We're looking at things that happened in the past, and there's not enough evidence. We don't really have the numbers to back up our claim that they're at a higher risk. Now, if you wanted to do a different study to prove this, you probably could get some numbers to go behind that. But right now, like that's a very vague observational study, and so we probably don't want to conclude that because of the lurking variables. All right, so the next one I want to look at is let's see. All right, let's look at number 8. All right, so we're going to look over at number 8. All right, so it says, among a group of disabled women aged 65 and older who were tracked for several years, those who had a vitamin B12 deficiency were twice as likely to suffer severe depression than those who did not. And it is wanting to know, first of all, there's a lot of like Part A, Part B, all of those, and you can see the first thing it's asking you to do for numbers 7 through 20 is Part A, decide if it's an observational study or an experiment. So on number 8, we are, they're being tracked, but they weren't assigned groups or treatments. They were just simply looking at information. So this is an observational study. So now that it's an observational study, we have to decide whether it was retrospective or prospective. And so if we look at number 8, it just says that in this group, we're tracking them for several years. So this is definitely things that are going to happen in the future. So this is a prospective observational study. And then it says, identify the subjects studied and how they were selected. And so on this one, the subjects were obviously the disabled women 65 and older with and without a vitamin B12 deficiency. It doesn't actually give us any information about the selection process. All right, then it says Part D is to identify the parameter of interest. And the parameter in interest, we are looking for a percentage of women that suffered depression. That's what we're looking for. So the parameter always is like, what are you trying to find? In this case, we're trying to find in the level of depression. And then on Part E, it says the nature and the scope of the conclusion the study can reach. So on this one, it's wanting to know like how it was selected, how the observational study happened. And so on this one, there's no random assignment. And it says, and on this one, since there's really no random assignment, you can't really establish a conclusion. You can simply just say that there's an association in the data. So if you are not assigning some sort of randomization, there is no way that you can conclude that there's some evidence to back it up. Now, if we had said we are going to go to, like if we wanted to do some sort of randomization with like a cluster or a somehow like stratify the women and then do that, then you would be able to draw some conclusions and say that the association has a little bit more evidence to look into. But right now, since there's no randomization, it's simply just an association. And so those are how you are going to answer. I assigned you number 10 and number 15, and so you're going to do things like that. Now, let's see. I don't know. Oh, I don't want to do number 11. We can't talk about alcohol. Okay, let's find another one to go over in this section. All right, I like number 14. All right, so number 14, it says scientists at a major pharmaceutical firm investigated the effectiveness of an herbal compound to treat the common cold. They exposed each subject to a cold virus, then gave him or her either the herbal compound or the sugar solution to have no effects on colds. Several days later, they assessed the patient's condition using a cold severity scale ranging from 0 to 5, and they found no evidence of benefits associated with the compound. All right, so the first thing it wants to know, is this an experiment or is this an observational study? All right, on this one, we definitely had groups and we gave them different things. We gave them different treatments. So this is definitely an experiment because the treatments were imposed on randomly assigned groups. Half of the group got the herbal compound and half of them got the sugar solution. And then on the next part, it's wanting to know the factors in the experiment and the number of levels for each. So there's one factor. We are assessing whether or not that herbal compound is effective. And so at 2 levels, so they either got the herbal compound or the sugar solution. And so there's 2 treatments. On part E, it says, what's the response variable? The response variable is the variable that you are evaluating or assessing after the treatment has been applied. And in this case, we are looking for that severity of the cold. And so that is our answer to part E. The response variable is the severity of the cold symptoms. All right, part F, it says explain the design if it's completely randomized, blocked, or matched. And in this case, it doesn't really say how the randomness was applied. So hopefully they were just randomly assigned. So on this one, we would probably just have to say completely randomized because it does not match or block. All right, then part G, it says whether it was blind or double blind. All right, in this one, it was blind. It was not double blind. Double blind means that you don't know which people are getting each treatment. In this case, it was just blind. The people that are actually taking the herbal compound or the sugar solution, they don't know which one they're getting. But the pharmaceutical firm does know which one they're getting. So it is blind to the people in the study, not the people conducting the study. If you didn't know either way, that is whenever it's double blind. All right, and then the last part, the nature and scope of the conclusion of the experiment. And on this one, it said that they found no evidence. And since we did apply treatments and it was random, we can definitely say that there's no evidence to suggest that the treatment is effective. So since there were no issues with the treatment and how that was applied, we can definitely say that the evidence they found, probably we can conclude that that's probably the way it works. All right, so then the next thing I assigned you is 22. It's a question about insomnia. I don't think that we need to do, it's just asking you an opinion on something, so I don't think that we need to do one like that. And let's see, then moving on, I assigned you number 34. And again, I kind of want you to try that one on your own. Hang on a second. I know I assigned you 44 and 40. Let's do number 39 together. All right, so I assigned you number 40, but we're going to do number 39 together. So it says some schools teach reading using phonics, which are sounds made by letters, and others use whole language, which is word recognition. Suppose a school district wants to know which method works better, and we want to suggest a design for an appropriate experiment. So if you are a school district and you want to know what type works better, you definitely probably want to do some sort of experiment because you are going to have to test both of these and see what works. And so on this one, we have a factor. We want to look at the reading program. So we have two levels of that. We have the phonics and then we have the whole language. So we are actually going to be applying two treatments here. All right, so in this, so you are going to have reading teachers, and I need to get a piece of paper out to write with. All right, so if we are looking at this problem, what can I adjust this a little bit to give myself more room? All right, so you have, the way you're going to set this up, whenever you are doing an experiment, you will want to show your work on how you are going to do your groups. All right, so on this, you are first going to take all of your reading teachers. All right, and then randomly, you are going to put them into two groups. All right, and so we will do this by some sort of random assignment. So you could be specific on this. You could do something like, put all of the teachers in alphabetical order and say, for each grade level. And you could say, okay, this if you're in the top half of the alphabet, you are going to be in group 1. If you're in the bottom half, you're going to be in group 2. You could draw names out of a hat. You could do all kinds of different randomization to assign these into groups. Now, if I told you to design your own experiment, I would definitely want you to come up with your own. You would actually have to state how you're doing this, but this is just a general idea. But you would have to assign that yourself. So then group 1, they're going to be the people doing phonics. If you're group 2, you're going to be the people doing whole language. All right, and then what you will have to do later is you are going to have to decide which one is better. You're going to have to do some sort of like comparison. Probably since it's a reading teacher, you'd probably compare their reading scores and then draw conclusions. So I will tell you, you would do this completely random. Now, if you're in a larger school district that is divided up into different neighborhoods, like I know we talked about Vigo County last week. So if you want to talk about Vigo County schools, you know, we mentioned some elementaries that parents, you know, just based on rumor mill, like that you would prefer to send your kids to. And you might also have to think about that in your study whenever you're dividing those up. Maybe some of those lower income schools, make sure that they're both represented in each group and do some different things like that. I will tell you guys, Emma Bonham is writing a paper right now, and I've been helping her with it at college. She's actually doing whether or not the income levels affect their reading. And so I've been helping her go through some data and do some things. So this is actually a really good example because she's actually using this specific topic. Not necessarily this. She actually divided hers up into income-based groups. And she was using Vigo County Schools, so it was a very interesting topic. I had a lot of fun helping her with that. And so on number 40, you are going to have something very similar to that. And on this, you might also have to include that you probably would want to do some sort of blocking by grade level to make sure. So you might want to block by grade level. And then in each grade level, assign certain teachers to group 1 and group 2. You want to make sure, you don't want to have like all of the 3rd grade teachers in group 1 and all of the 1st grade teachers in group 2, because then that's going to throw off your experiment completely, because it might just be like a grade level thing that like a certain grade level might respond better based on just their developmental skills. So you want to make sure that if you know, we have different grade levels in a school, so you do want to make sure that all those grades are represented in each group. So this is all I have for you guys today, and then you guys will have Thursday and Friday. We're going to do a couple things in class as well as work on our assignment Thursday and Friday. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, or you can ask questions in class on Thursday. But please, please, please make sure that both of these videos are watched. FYI, I have a YouTube channel. It tells me how many people view the video. So if I don't have 21 people viewing this video before class on Thursday, it's not going to be a good thing. So if you're watching this, tell your friends. Make sure that they are watching it, because otherwise it's not going to be pleasant. We've got to get this done. So this is our last chapter. So we are actually getting ready to wrap some things up, and I want to be able to do those fun projects, but if we have to continue to do lectures and go over content, it's going to take us a little bit longer, and that'll have to take time out of the fun things I would like to do. So if you guys have any questions, just make sure to reach out. I'll be available all day except during the second hour I'm doing a live. Other than that, I don't have anything else, and I hope you guys have a great day.